You've probably had this moment before. You're in the middle of a game, everything feels smooth, you're focused, and then suddenly it happens. A stutter, a drop. The game freezes for a split second, your aim is thrown off, and you lose. Instantly, the frustration kicks in. Why did my FPS just drop? You tweak settings, maybe blame your GPU, maybe even think about upgrading. Here's the thing. FPS drops are one of the most misunderstood problems in gaming. Most people assume it means their hardware isn't powerful enough. And yes, sometimes that's true, but in many cases, that's not the real reason. Because consistent FPS and stable FPS are not the same thing. You can have high FPS but still have a bad experience. What matters isn't just how many frames you get, but how consistent they are. Think of it like driving. A steady speed feels smooth, but constant speeding up and slowing down, even if fast, feels rough. That's what FPS drops are. They're not about speed, they're about interruptions. Every frame is a chain of work. The CPU prepares it, the GPU renders it, then it's displayed over and over. But that chain has to stay consistent. If something interrupts it, even briefly, you feel it. And those interruptions often come from places people ignore. Background processes, for example. Your PC is rarely just running your game. Updates, apps, services, even your browser. Even a small task can cause a noticeable FPS drop if it interrupts the CPU at the wrong moment. Because gaming isn't just about power, it's about timing. Then there are CPU spikes. Some tasks, AI, physics, game logic, don't happen evenly. Sometimes the CPU suddenly has to do more work. Even a tiny spike can delay a frame, and that delay is the stutter. This is why low CPU usage doesn't guarantee smooth gameplay, because averages don't show spikes. Consistency is what matters. Then there's temperature. If your system gets too hot, it slows down, thermal throttling, sometimes suddenly, and that creates frame drops. Not because your PC is weak, but because it's being limited. Storage can also play a role. If your game is loading assets and your drive is slow or busy, delays happen, and those delays show up as stutters. Now here's where most people go wrong. They focus on graphics settings. Lowering them can help, but often doesn't fix the real issue. Because FPS drops aren't always caused by the GPU. They're caused by instability in the system. So instead of asking, how do I get more FPS, ask, what's interrupting my frames? Because once you remove interruptions, FPS becomes stable, and stable FPS feels smooth. So what can you do? Close background apps before gaming, especially browsers and heavy programs. Disable unnecessary startup programs so your system isn't already busy. Keep your system cool and clean. Keep your drivers updated. And here's an important one. Limit your FPS. Running at maximum FPS can create instability. Capping it slightly lower often makes gameplay smoother because consistency matters more than peak numbers. Also, pay attention to frame time, not just FPS. Smooth gameplay comes from stable frame delivery. Here's the surprising part. A stable 60 FPS often feels better than FPS jumping between 120 and 70, because your brain notices inconsistency more than high numbers. Once you understand this, everything changes. You stop chasing higher FPS. You start focusing on stability. Because the goal isn't just speed, it's smoothness. So the next time you experience an FPS drop, don't immediately blame your hardware. Look deeper. Check what's running. Check temperatures. Because most of the time, your PC isn't struggling. It's being interrupted. And once you remove those interruptions, your game feels smooth again.